You might not be down to your last heartbeat, but you might be down to your last pay packet, or your last solution, or you might even be down to your last toilet roll. Maybe for you it's fear of that difficult conversation, or the fear that your life just won't matter to anyone, or maybe even the fear of a financial meltdown for your family. We all fear different things, but we all fear something. The author Max Lucado nailed it when he wrote, "We fear being sued, finishing last, going broke. We fear the mole on the back, the new kid at school, the sound of the clock as it ticks us closer to the grave. Fear is the big bully in the school hallway, brash, loud, and unproductive. But fear never wrote a symphony or poem, negotiated a peace treaty, or cured a disease. Fear never pulled a family out of poverty or a country out of bigotry. Fear never saved a marriage or a business. Courage did that. Faith did that." Let me tell you a story about a time when Jesus' closest followers were in a boat with him, and they were scared witless. You see, they'd had a busy day, so Jesus suggests they all get into this boat and go over to the other side of the lake for a bit of peace and quiet. It was a beautiful sunny afternoon, and the sea was as calm as anything, and Jesus was in the back of the boat, sleeping. Suddenly, out of nowhere, this giant storm comes up. I mean, we're talking typhoon strength. The wind is blowing, the rain is lashing, bits of the boat are breaking up, water's pouring in over the bow, and the disciples were afraid. They were screaming, and Jesus was sleeping. And they're kind of cross with him because he was the one that suggested they get in the boat in the first place. And some of these guys were fishermen. They knew the names of people who had died in storms like this. So they go to Jesus and they shake him and they wake him up and they shout to him in the midst of the storm, "Teacher, don't you care? Don't you care that we're going to drown?" Maybe you've been through a fearful time like this in your life when you've prayed those kind of prayers. I mean, don't you care, God? Don't you care that I'm a single parent and I've got to raise these kids on my own in lockdown? I mean, don't you care, God? Don't you care what my stepfather did to me all those years ago? Don't you care, God? And don't you care, God, because these retirement years were supposed to be the best years of our lives. And then the heart attack and the stroke and the dementia came. Don't you care, God? Don't you care that I struggled to pay my bills every month? And now I've lost my job. Don't you care, God? You know, we were supposed to have this baby and now there's all these complications. Don't you care, God? Don't you care about my marriage? I thought it was going to be the best ever. And then the lies and the deceit and the divorce. Don't you care, God? We've all prayed prayers like this when we've been scared and we've been afraid. And in this story, with the wind blowing and the rain lashing down, bits of the boat breaking up, Jesus stands, pillow in hand, and he says in a loud voice, "Peace, be still." The miracle wasn't that the storm stopped. I mean, every storm stops eventually. The miracle was how it stopped. It stopped suddenly on the command of Jesus. And Jesus looks in the eyes of those fear-filled disciples. He says, "Boys, where's your faith?" And the disciples look at each other and under their breath they say, "Who is this man? Who is this man that even the wind and the waves obey him? Who is this man who goes on a boat and doesn't take a life jacket but takes a pillow? Who is this man who is greater than the fears that keep me up at night?" A few moments earlier they were terrified of the storm, and now the storm's gone and they're terrified of Jesus. Who is this man? Look at how the Apostle Paul describes the man who the wind and the waves obey. For everything, absolutely everything, above and below, visible and invisible, rank after rank of angels, everything got started in Jesus and finds its purpose in Jesus. He was there before any of it came into existence and holds it all together right up to this moment. Who is this man who can sleep through a storm? He's the God who spoke the world into existence. He's the God of wonders beyond our galaxy. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, we often forget how big and how powerful and how awesome is the God of all creation.